Now, I think it's pretty safe to say that 2023 was without a doubt the absolute worst year for Disney, Bob Iger, the board of directors, not just limited to their up and down roller coaster with the stock, but also due in part to the ongoing box office failures such as Wish. Of course, we have others out there like Indiana Jones 5, The Marvels, Ant-Man 3, Quantumania, and a lot more on the horizon for 2024 and 2025. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future updates. You can also follow me at Mike01. I thank you also very much for the great and kind support. Now, the creative team behind Deadpool 3, which by the way I think is a fantastic team. You got Shawn Levy as the director, you've got writers Rhett, Reese, and Paul Wernick, along with Ryan Reynolds working on this thing, and there's been a lot of drama happening behind the scenes. A lot of creative differences between the writing team and the Disney heads that's been running this movie into the ground. Now, for the most part, we talked about this and we have to be very clear, for the most part, Ryan Reynolds has been quite happy about, the first act of the film and parts of the second so far. However, the majority of the second act and the third act so far is in shambles. And one segment of the first we have a lot to talk about. Now, there's a lot of things going on with Ryan Reynolds now, going up against Disney after what they did to him by forcing the creatives to delete multiple scenes, to swap specific cameos, and to also throw in some elements of their DEI agenda, which by the way stands for diversity, equity, and inclusion, for those of you that do not know. And there's a lot of things going into this film that I think could very well damage it. Now, let's get into this further. Now, with the Deadpool 3 drama between the creatives/writers and the Disney heads still unfolding, one major development has to do with Ryan Reynolds' recent stance against Bob Iger and the rest of the board, and even Marvel boss Kevin Feige at Marvel Studios. As it turns out, after Disney forced the creatives to delete multiple scenes that Ryan, Rhett, Reese, and Paul Wernick created, Ryan is now striking back at the Disney heads behind the scenes in an aggressive move to reinstate the two scenes that directly mock Disney and poke fun at the company. Something that the Disney heads weren't fond of when they viewed the scenes in a recent screening of test footage provided by director Shawn Levy. Now, Ryan Reynolds is now reportedly preparing a direct meeting with the Disney heads with Rhett Reese and Paul Wernick by his side in their desperate move to get those scenes where Deadpool visits Disney World in Orlando and directly mocks those like Bob Iger and the fact that Deadpool is now a Disney movie. Already, Deadpool 3 is set to mock 24th Century Fox directly in the first act, something that Bob Iger and the board approved from director Shawn Levy and the creatives. However, two scenes were abandoned by Disney after test footage was said to have been offensive to the Disney company directly, one of which involves a Deadpool providing dialogue about what Walt Disney would think of Disney today and directly referencing Bob Iger, and the second scene that took place revolving around Deadpool walking in on the board of directors holding a meeting about Deadpool 3. However, the board faces are not shown and the shots were filmed in a way to make them obscure. This is something that Bob Iger surprisingly approved back in late 2022 when they made a deal with Ryan about these scenes and Shawn Levy that they would actually create a parody of Disney. However, in recent times, with Disney's struggles, they are trying to withdraw from any callouts, especially from their own product after what happened with South Park and Elon Musk. With Ryan now taking action against the Disney heads to fight for their creative outlook of the film, a meeting between Shawn, Ryan, Rhett, and Paul and the Disney heads is set to take place later this month. Now, Ryan Reynolds was reportedly furious over Bob Iger pulling these scenes since they are described to be the biggest part of the film in the first act during Deadpool's introduction when breaking the fourth wall and acknowledging the audience directly in the first act. Now, before I move on, guys, let me just say one thing about this. So, first things first, what's very revealing to me is how Disney is keeping a parody/mockery of 24th Century Fox, and this, has been done in specific ways in the past where, Deadpool mocks specific studios and they kind of break the fourth wall. It's been done before. So Disney allows that, but they won't allow themselves to get mocked or to actually be parodied, right, in this movie. They don't want that. They're not having it right now because of what's going on with Elon, what has gone on with South Park Studios and The Daily Wire. And you can feel the heat pressing on Bob Iger and how this is kind of creating a little bit of a rift in the third Deadpool film. Now, like I said earlier, a couple of days ago, if this movie cannot surpass Deadpool 2, which, by the way, was quite an underwhelming movie to begin with, that's just my thoughts on that. If they can't surpass the second film, this movie is in trouble to begin with. Agenda or not, as far as the actual story goes, if it can't really do better than the second, it's not going to be labeled as a classic. I think that Deadpool 1 was revolutionary. It was a great classic. It was something that you could always watch over and over again. The second film is quite forgettable, to be honest. That's how I saw it. But moving on here, this is where things heat up. Now, Ryan Reynolds was reportedly furious over Bob Iger pulling the scene since they are described to be the biggest part of the film in the first act during Deadpool's introduction, of course. Now, the mockery of 24th Century Fox is set to actually take place in the first act. We're talking about right after the credits, or the beginning credits, as well, and was supposed to come before the parody of Disney and Bob Iger. Bob Iger already dropped Ryan as a co-writer from working on several projects that were in the talks for Marvel Phase 6 and 7, which, of course, for Phase 7 is a long ways off to begin with. Now, the thing about Ryan Reynolds, let me just say, if I were him, I would have walked away from Disney. I would have said, you know what, you're on your own. I would have wiped my hands off and said, that's it. Calling you off, get somebody else on board. Now, Ryan, of course, is very passionate. He's very passionate about Wade Wilson and Deadpool. He loves the characters. He wants to make this movie a great one. So this is a constant back and forth battle to make this movie pretty much an instant classic, a hit, so to speak, for 2024. This is Disney's last saving grace for next year. And if they can't make this movie into a good one, you can bet that it's going to create a domino effect on everything else for 2025 that is already most likely doomed to fail, because we know that Blade, Fantastic Four, Captain America 4 is all filled with DEI strategies and agendas, and it's going to tarnish those stories to begin with. So again, I mean, like I say, Ryan Reynolds, he has fun on social media. After all the set leaks, he's putting out these, these mock-ups of set leaks to kind of poke fun at the concept of leak culture. And that's what he's doing. He's having fun with the whole leak culture. So I like what he did there. He threw Mickey Mouse in some images to have fun. He threw the Predator in other photos. I mean, he's just having a blast. Ryan Reynolds is like the epitome of someone that kind of likes to interact with his audience on social media, especially with Twitter/X and other forms of social media out there like Instagram. So anyway, I would really like to hear what you all have to say about this ongoing drama below in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys later.